Hello and welcome to Delivering Digital with the University of Florida Foundation Office of Estate and Gift Planning. My name is Kevin Bauman. I'm the Director of Philanthropic Initiatives here at Capture and pleased to be your host as we explore annual, major, and planned giving campaigns that Paul Casperson from the University of Florida will be sharing with us today. Before introducing Paul, I'll go over a quick housekeeping item. Most of you who are accustomed to our advancement webinars here at Capture know that we generally run 1.5 hour. Because of our special guest, we will be working to get as much information out of Paul as possible, and we will likely run a little bit longer into 45 or maybe even 60 minutes. So with that, let me jump into quickly introducing our special guest today. Paul Casperson comes to us from the University of Florida Office of Estate and Gift Planning. And if you have not met Paul already, he is a fixture in our industry, and I am thrilled to introduce him today. Paul is the Assistant Vice President and Senior Philanthropic Advisor at the University of Florida Foundation. Paul has over 20 years of financial and charitable planning experience. His team is responsible for bringing in over $140 million annually. He also helps oversee the comprehensive campaign and was formerly an executive director at Iowa State University. So, Paul, I am pleased to do your introduction today, and thank you for making some time to join us.
Kevin, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great, absolutely. Now, Paul, we were talking just before jumping on today, and it sounds like you and I share a phone-a-thon background. It all started from a phone-a-thon, so I'm excited that we are connecting virtually today.
Certainly. My telemarketing days go back to when I was like 18 or 19 years old. So it was a great training ground to be where I am today, many, many years into the future.
Well, Paul, you've certainly taken a great opportunity and done the most with it. So as I gloat on you, Paul, let's jump into exactly why people are joining us today, because they want to know what you've learned over that time and some of the digital strategies that you and the team have been implementing. So over our time today, we'll jump into a quick agenda. An introduction, you've met Paul. I'll do a quick introduction to say, again, my name is Kevin Bauman, the Director of Philanthropic Initiatives, and pleased to be your host from the Capture side today. As we go into our webinar today, know that we're going to start by talking about simplifying digital. As many of you know, we talked about how there are so many different digital strategies going on today, and whether that means social media strategies or website strategies or email strategies or all of those sorts of things. How do we simplify that conversation? I think Paul has done a really, really good job of doing that, and so I'm excited to have that conversation here today to start our presentation. We'll then move into some annual giving work that Paul and the team have done that added about $100,000 to their giving day. We'll move into some planned giving digital strategies where Paul and the team have used digital strategies to identify 2,000 top planned giving prospects. If that sounds exciting, just wait. And then some digital strategies that his team has used to identify about $100 million of highly engaged major gift prospects. That'll be a lot of information, and so we will round that out with a strategy review and some tips. So, Paul, let's jump into simplifying digital. So you've got the Office of Estate and Gift Planning website. You've got a lot of digital strategies that are floating around our industry today. Paul, tell me what digital means to you and why the website was important to your digital strategy.
Well, if you would have asked me that question about 1.5 years ago, and if I would answer it honestly, I would say, Kevin, digital just is not yet where it's at in planned giving marketing. In my experience, I've been in planned giving for about 12, 13 years now, and the results that we've gotten up until I would say about 2018, at least in my experience, were all print. Okay, even with industry leaders telling us 10 years ago everything's going digital, because of our age group traditionally of our donor base in planned giving. Print was the place to be. I still think that there's an important place for print. And I think that it's distinctive because not as many people are making big investments in print. But digital, because of the pandemic has moved digital about 4 years into the future of where it would be if it weren't for the pandemic. And so for me now, this website that we have here is it's become now a very important tool, and all of the accessories that we put around that tool is going to be a key driver for all plan giving marketing in the future.
Paul, that makes so much sense to me. And as I think back to my time starting in advancement 20 years ago, that's when email was really coming onto the scene, and that was going to revolutionize things. And so I think there's always been sort of this digital conversation. And I couldn't agree with you more that really in the last year and a half, 2-3 years, digital has really come on in more ways than email, in more ways than simply social media strategies and that sort of thing. So Paul, thanks for setting that stage. I'll tell you what we know here at Capture is we know that for decades now, we have been teaching alumni to use our website as a central digital asset. So Paul and the team are sending out emails that are driving constituents to the estate planning website. And so that's teaching constituents to click through, read about those donor testimonials, read about the resources that Paul is putting out on the resources, driving that activity, teaching our constituents to use our website as that central asset. We also have institutions who are driving more and more activity through social media. And so we're seeing more and more plan giving work. We're seeing more and more major and annual giving work that is focused on taking constituents who are on some of our social media campaigns and social media streams and clicking through ads there drives them back to the website. Digital ads are coming on more and more. So I'll just mention that retargeting ads and plan giving specifically are really taking hold and driving more and more constituents back to that plan giving website. And then, Paul, with the wonderful work that you've put into putting those resources on the page, we have constituents who are organically visiting that website. So what we've really found, Paul, is that you've hit the nail on the head, that you've really created this central digital asset where alumni are really coming to your website as that central asset to get more information. So this is really, at Capture, Paul, we like to say go fundraising where the donors are. You may have heard fishing where the fish are from one of our mutual friends. I have adopted that to say go fundraising where the donors are. So with that, let's just talk about where are those donors. So a little bit of Capture information before we jump into your strategies, Paul. This chart will come up a number of times in the presentation today. Because Capture has the ability to track every visitor on every page of the website, we can actually tell you where alumni spend their time. And in knowing that, we were able to share that information with Paul and his team, who were able to utilize this information to deliver their annual major and plan giving messaging in real time on different places on the website where the constituents will actually see it. We're going to start off with the day of giving, or the giving day strategy, and a couple of data points before we jump into there. You'll notice at the very top, the arrow that just appeared shows you that the athletics page actually receives close to half of all visits from alumni. Now, that's probably higher for you, Paul, at the University of Florida with your amazing athletics programs. But we know that alumni spend a lot of their times on the athletics website. At the same time, we know that the Giving Day page is actually only 5% of all annual traffic. Now, that makes sense because it's not up year round and all of those sorts of things. But what Paul and his team were able to do, and Paul, I'm going to ask you to jump into the strategy here in just a minute, is Paul and his team were able to use the website, and right here we've got an example of their athletics website, and they were able to use digital strategies to deliver the day of giving message on the actual athletics website. So Paul, let me turn it over to you to kind of talk about some of the brainstorming you and the team did and some of the strategies that you put in place there.
Yeah, that's one of the unique features of working with Capture is that that it's not really just about identifying the traffic on your site and those that are on your site, but it's the dynamic content that you can add to your pages, and that you have a team that can help to put those together for us so we don't have to put a lot of thought into it. And so one of the thoughts when we brought on Capture to try this new technology was, let's utilize some of the assets around Giving Day. And so we utilized, I believe it was 2 toasters, and you can see one on the slide here. I don't think it's that was that big. Maybe it was that big. I can't remember, but it popped up when someone goes to the athletics page, and really, I think all of our pages, but athletics, as Kevin mentioned, gets the majority of the traffic. And so you'll see some of the numbers, I think, in later slides, right, Kevin? But the numbers were just astounding in terms of the athletic site driving donors to the Giving Day page. Just a tremendous number, literally thousands of donors. And we did that for 7 days and kind of had this neat countdown that was kind of leading up to Giving Day on February 18th. And you could see it right here. We had over 7,000 clicks from, this was just from the 7 days leading up to Giving Day. And the majority of those, I believe, came from the athletics page, if not all of those on this particular page.
Paul, you're right. And let me mention, you are right. It was not that big. We made that a little bit bigger so our audience could see it, but you're exactly right. It just appeared in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And, Paul, one of the questions I've got for you is that message appeared in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But you'll notice that third bullet point it mentions that visitors saw it once on their initial visit and then a second time on a subsequent visit, but they didn't see it again. Why was that important to the team to make sure that they only saw it twice and it didn't appear every single time that somebody came to the site?
Well, I mean, we all are used to this type of technology now in our daily lives. And, when you kind of feel like it's too intrusive. And I think some people are more sensitive to that than others. And so, at the University of Florida, we are the individuals that kind of control the communications are sensitive or more conservative in their approach to using these types of tools. And that's okay. This is new technology for us. My argument is what's more intrusive, to have a toaster come up, once or twice, or to send 300 emails in a year, to a donor. And so I think we're starting to see now that, the technology, these types of toasters are going to be more important than email because, people are, email is kind of, to use your analogy, it's a sea that's becoming fished out. And, when somebody goes to a website and they have a toaster pop up like this, they may not be interested, but 4.5% of them obviously were. And they clicked on and they went over to Giving Day, as opposed to receiving an email about Giving Day. Now, did they receive emails about Giving Day? You bet they did. But my point is that this new technology is more personalized to kind of meeting the user where they are. So they went to athletics page. Maybe they have no interest in Giving Day, but, you gave them that option to make that decision to go over and click, and they did, and it was successful.
Sure. Well, I think that makes so much sense, and I got a little eager to show results. So I brought up one of the results. So let me share a couple of others, because I think for our listeners, they say 7,000 clicks is a lot. That's a lot of traffic. But what was the actual outcome from that? And so as we looked at some of that data, we looked and saw about 1,200 of those people made it all the way to the Giving Now page. And then we were actually very happy to see the number of major gift prospects. Paul, was that a surprise to you, or was that did you suspect that there might be some of those in those communications?
Certainly. I mean, this is great for annual giving, obviously, Giving Day, and alumni participation rate, which is a key metric here at the University of Florida. But you're obviously going to involve some of your best donors on Giving Day, albeit that maybe they're making just an annual gift. I'm not surprised at all, and I was very thrilled that we were able to identify some of our best potential, major gift and principal gift prospects going forward.
That's great. And for anybody who's tuning in today and saying, how did you know who was on the website? How did you know who was clicking through? I promise we will cover that in the presentation today, because that's a large aspect of what Paul and the team have been able to do is better understand who's on the website, much like those 161 people at that wealth rating and those 14 people at the other wealth rating of $1 million, and help connect directly to constituents who are actively engaging the institution and really utilize institutional resources very effectively with constituents on the website. So let's get into some overall results. So for 2021 Giving Day, we were looking at 20,000 donors. The actual number came in just above 22,000. So Paul, congratulations. 22,000 people is 22,198. I don't want that number to go down at all. Is an incredible result. And when we looked at how many of those people were influenced by that digital campaign, just a little over 1,600 people. So when we start talking about the value of the campaign, let me dive deeper into why you see a range there. I'm a firm believer that we are in an omni-channel environment. And Paul mentioned that, yes, we are sending Giving Day emails. And yes, we are making Giving Day phone calls. And there are all kinds of communication pieces going out. And so to say that this was the actual piece that drove every single one of those donors to make that gift is difficult for anyone to say. And so at Capture, we wanted to make sure that we were respectful of all of the efforts going on at Giving Day when we say that the range of impact that it was estimated to be between 100,000 and 160,000. So pretty exciting to see those numbers come through from a 7-day campaign. Paul, any thoughts on or internal conversations you've had about results from Giving Day?
Well, it was definitely it is a all hands on deck type of everybody is involved from annual giving to all of the college-based development staff to our board members. It's very using social has become predominant now. And, it wouldn't have happened with all of those things, and just adding the dynamic content to the website was just one more way to get that message out in a time where, messages can be buried very quickly. And I think that we did a great job of creating momentum and mind space to clear the way for a very successful Giving Day, because we set very audacious goals here at the university. So to achieve the volume of gifts says a lot about the people that were involved in preparing for Giving Day.
Well, Paul, you certainly assembled a great team, and we were honored to be a part of that. And thank you for sharing your Giving Day story with our audience.
That.
Paul, let's jump into plan giving. So at the agenda slide, we talked about identifying 2,000 top plan giving prospects. And so in narrowing our scope, we talked a lot about delivering the right message in the right place in the athletics program. Let's take another focus on your existing website. So we talked about the emails that are going out. And yes, there are a lot of emails going out these days. And I know you and the team continue to send emails because they are engaging an audience and they are driving constituents back to learn about those resources that live on your website. You've also got a lot of great resources on the website through some of your different vendor relationships. Your website is really aggregating a lot of those vendor relationships. And so I'm going to highlight this gift illustrator that you have as a resource that alumni are being driven to and leveraging every single day. You've also got some great resources that you and the institution create, the sample bequest language. There's one other place I'd like to just to highlight. You are talking to a number of different vendors to support the Office of Estate and Gift Planning website. Can you elaborate on how the website really has become this central location for your estate planning audience?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 add-ons that we have created to the gift planning website. We have we work with, I believe, the best vendor out there in terms of customizing a traditional gift planning website. But I like to always take things a little further than what is traditional. And so there's 2 or 3 things that we've kind of added on ourselves. One is that we've added on a section for the UF Advisor Network. And so the UF Advisor Network is a place where hence the name. This is made up of attorneys, estate attorneys, CFPs, trust officers, CPAs that work with individual donors. Many of them are alums of the university, but we've also met many of these great advisors through our alums and our donors themselves who have relationships with those advisors. So that's one section that we've added on. So if I'm a development officer and I have somebody who's saying, I got to find an attorney to update my estate plans, there is a zip code search, and you can go on there and vet individuals who are part of the UF Advisor Network. So that's one good way to do it, as opposed to recommending attorneys, which I've been asked to do that my whole career. And it's always worked out well, but rather than giving one or two names, I like to rather just give them a directory and let them decide. So that's one of the add-ons. The other add-on is something that we're working on right now. It's proprietary here at UF called My Estate Plans, my-estateplans.com. And what this is a tool for individuals who are interested in really all things wealth planning. Majority of it is based on estate planning. And what we're trying to accomplish with this tool is to be educational, within estate planning, but throughout all type of wealth strategy planning. And so there's 39 key wealth management issues that you can read about on the site. But then there's a level of membership where people can join and they can use our online digital planning tools. And it could be anything as simple as I want to evaluate my overall estate plan, which can be done in a 15-minute assessment. Or they can go all the way up to the Premium Plus membership where you can draft your own estate documents. Now, this is different from other tools out there where you go in and draft your estate documents. It's a hybrid approach. So we want to empower people to, especially after the pandemic, it's been very clear that people want to have more online estate planning resources. But we want to educate our donor base on why they should use an estate planning attorney. This is not to replace the estate planning attorney. This is to inform and educate users. Now, if they are one of the rare adults in America that have such a simple estate plan that they can draft a will and a durable power of attorney and they're good to go, then great, more power to them. But what the tool does is it really accentuates 15 trigger points, and there'll probably be more trigger points that will reinforce why, after someone takes the 15-minute assessment, why they need to use an estate planning attorney. So what you're seeing from our website now is you've got a banner you're going to have a banner on the right-hand side where an individual can go to the landing page and then they can go over to My Estate Plans and they can decide if they want to become a member or if they just want to read just take the basic 15-minute assessment. But it really broadens out a traditional gift planning website, which is CGAs, CRTs, donor advised funds, maybe a little bit about, making a gift in your will to, okay, this is more than just about what you can do for the University of Florida. This is, how would you like to learn more information about this, about employee stock ownership plans, about, estate planning for your 529 plans and how unique that is. So that is an add-on that we've added, Kevin, that I believe that when you add these things onto a gift planning website, it'll improve your traffic. It'll improve the value that you're getting from a site like this.
Paul, I think that's amazing. I'm going to make the animation go to the website, but all of those resources that you've got there are just absolutely incredible. So for everyone tuning in today, if you didn't follow everything Paul said, reach out to him because you need to know those things. And if you did follow what Paul said, and you do recognize the value of all of the different resources that he and the team are putting on the website, I think he would be happy to field your phone calls, whether it be a follow-up from this capture presentation or related to any of the resources that he and the team are leveraging on the website, because they really are doing a tremendous job. Paul, I think you said it great when you talked about expanding the traditional website and the tools that are available on the website to really be, as cliche as donor-centric is, to really deliver resources for our constituents to dive deeper. And the good news is, from a capture point of view, Paul, let me tell you what we've seen. We're seeing constituents coming from all over the country who are leveraging those resources because they live digitally on your website. We have constituents who are coming from Portland and San Diego and New York and all of the national and international alumni that you have are leveraging those resources because they're available 24/7 on the website, ready to go when the donor is ready to have that conversation. And so credit to you and the team for putting all of those resources out there. Now,
well, I mentioned 3 add-ons, right? And the third add-on is capture. We created the other 2 internally, the UF Advisor Network and the directory and all those pages, and then My Estate Plans is proprietary as well. But then we in order to really take us to the next level with digital marketing, it's not something you want to do yourself. You want to work with an organization that they do this full time for a living, and so that's my third add-on.
I love it. Well, Paul, you're with that great of an endorsement. You're welcome back on any webinar that we have. But yes, we are thrilled to be collaborating with you and the team because you do have that vision. And so by putting the resources out there and bringing capture in, I can set the stage for the audience of sort of why capture and what the tracking results that we talked about earlier. Paul and the team have a constituent base of about a million records. Previously they had narrowed that million records down to about 100,000 constituents that were in the plan giving marketing funnel. And by using capture, we've been able to help Paul understand which of those 100,000 people are actively using resources on the estate planning website. And by monitoring the website and providing those resources to Paul and the team to understand their visitors, we've been able to help Paul take their outreach from 100,000 constituents to 2,000 plan giving prospects who are actively having a plan giving consideration today. And so a couple of outcomes that I'm going to let Paul speak to in just a minute, but let me bring up an example of those 2,000, because Paul, I can tell you that anytime we talk about narrowing a population from 1 million to 100,000 to 2,000 actively having a plan giving consideration, we get asked the question, yeah, sure, but what does that really look like? So we went in earlier and pulled up one of your actual prospects. Now, just know that Kathy is not the actual donor's information. All of the data that you see on the website on the screen here is accurate, but all of the names have been changed to protect the names of the innocent. But this particular individual is wealth rated to between $100,000 and $250,000. And by using captures tracking on the website, we've been able to deliver to Paul that this individual in November went to the plan giving website, read about gifts of life insurance, and starting her legacy on campus. So we know that she's starting to have that conversation. In February, she researched different ways to give. And in April, she further showed her engagement by reading 3 different articles on the website. One of those, Paul, being 20 more reasons to be proud to be a Gator. Loved that one. I'm sure there are plenty more than 20. So 20 more got my attention. And then in September, she returned to the website where she started to read about ways to give different endowments. And so by taking those 100,000 prospects and starting to understand who's on the website today, looking into those resources about starting your legacy, looking into those resources that Paul mentioned in expanding the website, Paul is able to narrow down his focus and narrow down that outreach. So, Paul, any thoughts from internally on what it means to take those 100,000 prospects, narrow it down to 2,000 people just like Kathy?
Well, I mean, it's really important that, there's only so much time in the day, and, it really comes down to, your productivity, the Pareto principle that we've all heard about for many, many decades. It's probably not even 80-20. It's probably like 95-5, and in other words, that 5% of those donors, of those 100,000, are going to give you 95% of your results, and that's true. And just one of the biggest gifts that we could have is a reinforcement of identifying those people and staying on task with them. So it's very important. And and if individuals again have questions about how this information is valuable, I'm happy to talk to anybody offline. But I can tell you that we are building, we're kind of building a future by identifying these individuals and their web habits. And so in the first year, you're kind of planting a seed. In the second year, in the third year, you're still tending to that crop. The harvesting really will probably happen in 3 to 5 years, but some of the crops grow within a month. And some of those are able to be produced right away. So we've had people that have completed one of our dynamic content pieces that have asked for online estate planning tools, My Estate Plans, or they've asked for bequest language, and they've already documented their gifts. So, but for the majority of this type of work, it's going to be a 3 to 5 year process, and we're in for it because there's no looking back on digital.
Paul, that makes so much sense. And you alluded to dynamic content. So let me share with the team one of the strategies that you and let me share with the audience one of the strategies that you and the team have used to take those 2,000 prospects and allow your constituents to raise their hand and ask for more information. And so I'm going to take us back to going fundraising where the donors are and better understanding where constituents are visiting our digital presence. So first, I'll point out that the Plan Giving website generally receives about 0.5% of all activity throughout the year. Now, that is not our way of saying anything negative about the Plan Giving website. Paul and the team are doing a great job, and those resources are really, really important. But in recognizing that there are other places within the foundation, specifically all of our Alumni Advancement Foundation pages that receive more traffic, Paul and the team implemented, as he referred to, dynamic content, which is which I can bring up here in just a minute, which is content that appears on the screen when specific individuals visit the website. So in this case, people came to the Office of Estate and Gift Planning website, and Paul and his team were able to deliver a real-time form. I'll make that bigger. Just asking constituents, would you like more information about delivering an effective estate plan within your special area of interest with the university? And it allows these constituents to just raise their hand. You can check the box for where you're at in your estate planning process and then provide your contact information so he and the team can reach out. So, Paul, I'm going to guess as you talked about some of those crops that were growing faster, you mentioned some of them that have already established an estate gift. Is that one of the form fills that you were mentioning earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. I can, and again, just to reiterate, our gift planning team is 10 people, and we have 6 gift planners. So a lot of these leads, I don't even know when they get harvested. I'm aware that of 2 of them for sure that completed the PID have already documented their gift just in fiscal year 21.
I love it. And for us at Capture, what we're really proud of is the ability to connect Paul and the team to the constituents that need the resources that he and the team have. And so, Paul, credit to you for taking this strategy, for taking the tool that Capture has and really pioneering a strategy of being able to offer those resources directly to those constituents. And thrilled to hear that that's working out for the betterment of our donors and for the office. I'll just mention that form was displayed on multiple pages. So whether it was an alum visiting the foundation resource, maybe they were reading an article, maybe they were exploring different giving opportunities. And so if we looked at the success of that form, Paul, I think you mentioned an update as we were going through this earlier, but the success of this form in the first 2 months that it ran, there were 1,800 people that saw that form. It was displayed 1,800 times. Of those 1,800 people, 7 people raised their hand and said, please contact me about estate planning basics or including the institution in my estate plans, one of those different boxes. And so Paul mentioned a couple of those closing. And Paul, I think you had an update as we were going through earlier.
Well, I looked at the dashboard this morning, and I know that there's been 11 that have completed the PID to this point. So, those are great leads. Those are, one of the reasons why I have been so pro print and less digital leading up to about 2019 was that when we get reply cards in the mail, they're tangible. I can touch them and I can follow up with those people. And when I get a reply card, when I get a stimuli from a donor that says, I'm interested in something, I have a lot of confidence when I reach out to them. And a lot of times with our digital metrics, it's been a little squishy, kind of leading up to when we first started doing our work together. And now these are clear, compelling individuals that are interested in, talking to us, just like reply cards. So this is just the very beginning.
I love it. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear we're connecting with constituents. 11 more. I'll update the webinar next time. But that's great to hear. So, Paul, let's jump into okay. So, top plan giving leads. I was going to ask you how the team is leveraging these leads, but I think we've gone pretty far into there. Anything else about what it means to have these leads on campus as they come in?
Yeah, I'll just two things. One of them I'm reiterating, but was very important that we involved multiple departments in the capture project. Obviously, your communications team, if that's where your web people live, are going to be important. Research people are important. So we have one researcher that it's not her full-time job, but she's assigned to, she's gone total immersion into capture and the dashboard. And she has really helped to kind of sift through the reports that are available to us on the dashboard to identify people that we should be talking to immediately. And those leads are getting vectored out to the gift planners for starters, because the gift planners know that how to communicate with these people that are on our website, because you always have that fear that somebody is going to reach out and say, I noticed that you were reading this on our website, and nobody wants that, and the gift planners have enough tact, I don't know if tact's the right thing. They'd have enough awareness to know how to handle that conversation. And just like with reply cards, a lot of those conversations are really starting to develop. And so that's where I think that's probably where having these top 2,000 plan giving leads has been the most beneficial for us. And it is interesting to know what they're interested in. And it's interesting when they are on our websites, because that's when you want to, a day or two later, touch base with them. Just like you leave something in your shopping cart, what's going to happen, when you leave that thing in your shopping cart? We all know what happens. You get an email that says, did you forget something? In that same way, we want to reach out to somebody when they're reading an article, when UF is top of mind to them. And so these are just tools that we didn't have at our disposal before.
Sure. Paul, you mentioned something interesting along the way, and that was coordinating with multiple departments. I'm thinking back to our Giving Day example with athletics. Talk to us a little bit about coordinating across campus. I know that's a really important aspect of what you're doing in coordinating all of these resources. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when people ask me about capture, and I'm a strong proponent of capture, I always stress the importance of organizational acceptance. But it doesn't have to be 10 out of 10. You don't have to get 10 out of 10 people to organizationally accept this program right at the start. If you get 7 out of 10, that's great success. Where I'm going with that is that with all the success we've had here at the University of Florida, we still have a lot of websites that we are not tracking out there because we have a relationship with athletics. We clearly have a relationship with the Alumni Association and all of our UF advancement pages so that we have the capture tracker on there. We don't have them on any of the colleges yet. And so we're still waiting to get kind of overall university clearance and approval to do that. And I believe that we'll get there in calendar year 21, if not 22. But if you wait for all the stars to align, you'll never get started, So you have to start with what you have. If it's just the plan giving website, then start with just a plan giving website. Recognize that that's where, you're going to have not a lot of traffic, but that's where you're going to have to start. And, kind of build it up from there. As I said, when we went into this, we're investing not for an instant gratification, but what it can be, in the years to come.
Paul, that makes so much sense to me. And as when we started this conversation, I was so impressed at your sort of land and expand strategy, and where we're able to prove some success in certain areas, and that helps beget different buy-in in other areas. So thanks for talking a little bit about what it looks like on campus, because I know a lot of people are probably looking at this and saying, messaging on my website, there's a few conversations that need to happen between here and there. And Paul, I think it's safe to say there were a few conversations that happened before our original outreach, and where we are today. So a few people to get involved along the way.
Well, we do our due diligence here at UF, and in Capture came through that, very squeaky clean, and so. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be met with resistance with introducing this new technology, but it's definitely, it's not going away. It's only going to be more important to the way we communicate in the future. And once people realize that this type of communication is, when you're marketing, that this is as appropriate, if not more appropriate, than email solicitations, and maybe even print solicitations, then things will change considerably. You'll see a level of personalization digitally that we can only imagine today what that will look like.
Well, I'm looking forward to that day, Paul. I completely agree with you on that one. Okay, let's jump into. Well, there's your digital form one more time for the audience. And then let's jump into some major gifts. So we mentioned identifying about $100 million in high potential major gift prospects. So let's jump into some major gift strategies. And so developing those relationships, as we talk about the website really being that central digital asset, I'll just remind our audience, we've got those emails that are going out to our constituents. We've got the social media that's driving constituents to the website. Digital ads driving to the website, all tools in multiple advancement offices across the country. And then we just have these people who are organically visiting the website. And so Paul and the team, by using Capture to track the website, as he mentioned, we're able to take that constituent base of 1 million prospects. If we go all the way over to the right there, narrow that down to about 8,000 highly engaged major gift prospects. Now, again, when we talk about highly engaged major gift prospects, we always get the question, what does that look like? And the great news is I will reintroduce you to Kathy. You remember Kathy from our previous slide. But again, Kathy's wealth rated to $100,000, not $1 million. Wouldn't that be great? She's wealth rated to $100,000. And you'll notice in September, she went on to research ways to give, including endowments. And so not only are we identifying these plan giving prospects for Paul and the team, those 2,000 plan giving prospects, but in many ways, there are about 8,000 prospects who are actively considering gifts and are wealth rated to a major gift level on campus as well. Paul, any thoughts on what that means on campus, taking the entire major gift population, narrowing it down to 8,000 prospects?
Well, I think that the colleges and the units are going to see a lot of value in this. They already are through the gift planner referrals, because the gift planners, when they're following up with leads, they're not doing them without bringing along a development officer to collaborate. But the data that we've been gathering through Capture is really, we have not shared that with them yet, because we think that once we are able to be part of the university's web pages, so if people are reading articles on the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences or the College of Engineering, then we really will bring everything together to say, hey, did you know that they were reading something about gift annuities on our website? Did you know that they went to My Estate Plans? Did you know that, they're also interested in athletics? And all of that data comes together to just help strategize. And, development officers too, if you are a researcher and you bring them a list of great donors, they're going to look at that list and be like, they're going to stare at that list and overanalyze which person they should call first and which person looks good and not good. If you tell somebody that this person has been reading an article, yesterday or 2 days ago on your site, your level of confidence when you reach out to that individual for the first time to introduce yourself, it goes up immeasurably, just like it does when you get a reply card or when somebody fills out the online PID. So I think it's going to be really great for qualifying major gift prospects in the future, the data that we're accumulating through Capture.
Paul, that makes so much sense to me. And those individual points of affinity are such a game changer. And I can tell you that, as having been the gift officer that could look at my list and overanalyze it and think too much, and those individual points of affinity that you're talking about bringing on as different units start tracking their sites really become the game changer. So really excited to see how the team leverages those. But in the meantime, Paul, credit to you and the team for using even more of the dynamic content. So we're going to come back to the overarching view of where constituents are visiting on the website. And when it comes to a couple of our resources, again, that Plan Giving website organically is going to receive about 0.5%. And the alumni page, again, is going to receive, or foundation page in our case, Paul, is going to receive even more traffic. And so credit to you and the team for launching a different on-screen content piece related to calendar year-end tax-advantaged ways to give. And so, Paul, I'll set the stage here and just mentioning that in December of 2020, Paul and the team were able to communicate with every constituent visiting the foundation website, whether they're looking at foundation resources, reading alumni articles, or looking into different ways to give, and just and convey to them that there are different materials on the estate planning website related to tax-advantaged ways to give. And you can see that there on the right-hand side of the screen. Paul, we can go through some results, but maybe talk a little bit about the strategy behind that.
Well, it was, this one was kind of one that came to us through our initial experience with Capture, and we were trying to figure out. You got to remember, I'm coming into this as a senior philanthropic advisor, oversee planned giving and real estate. So I don't really have this kind of 60,000 foot view of the university, but through some consultation, with our Capture representative, Joe, and others, the suggestion came up, well, why don't we do something around year-end giving? We didn't have really the IRA rollover to promote in 2020. We did have a nice little annual gift opportunity with the CARES Act, was a nice little income tax benefit. So we wanted to just, we wanted to use some of our dynamic content in our contract with Capture to take advantage of year-end giving. And so, we went into this year with 5, in our agreement with Capture, we had 5 dynamic content pieces, okay? We used one of them so far for planned giving. That's it. I mean, you came to us through plan giving, and we use the one form on our website that you can fill out to get more information about, leaving the university and your estate plans, online planning tools, blah, blah, blah. Everything else is for the rest of the university. Giving Day is all about annual giving. Year-end giving, to some extent, is about annual giving and certainly major gifts. So it's really been using this dynamic content has really allowed us to kind of extend an olive branch to other parts of other departments to kind of work collaboratively in our fundraising efforts, especially centrally.
I love that we're building bridges, Paul. That makes a lot of sense to me. The one thing I'll mention that I was surprised, and Paul, maybe it didn't catch you by surprise, but going into this strategy, what I didn't expect was about half of the people who clicked this message, so clicked through and they were driven to the landing page about tax-advantaged ways to give, were wealth rated at major gift prospects. So Paul talks about building bridges with other areas of the advancement office. It makes more sense as you think about it, though. Who needs tax-advantaged ways to give, but people who have the wealth to be faced with some of those challenges. And so by delivering that message on the foundation website where constituents will actually see it, we were able to help drive some of that traffic over to leverage the resources that Paul and the team are putting out there for our constituent base and leverage them more effectively and get more use out of them. So Paul, let's go into a quick summary. We've talked about a lot of different strategies here today. We've got delivering the Giving Day message there on the left-hand side. So delivering that message where constituents will actually see it. We've got delivering plan giving message. So delivering the popover form to allow constituents to raise their hand and just request more information from experts like Paul and the team. And then we've got the ability to use digital messaging to deliver different pieces of relevant content where constituents will see them and allow you to get more use out of that. So 3 different digital strategies that Paul and the team have used to generate $100,000 or more worth of annual giving work. 11 people filled out that PID form now, Paul, not 7, 11 as I have that. And 2,000 top plan giving prospects tracked behind that form. And then 8,000 major gift prospects in addition to the 18 people who were major gift rated clicking through that form. So, Paul, credit to you and the team. These strategies are really pioneering in the work that is happening within an advancement office. And I guess the closing question that I have for you, Paul, is for me, one of the things that I'm excited about having some visibility to is being able to take institutional resources. We are all working on limited budgets, limited staffing, limited time. And deliver those resources where they will have the most impact, not only for our institution, but for our donors, and really be good stewards of institutional resources. Any thoughts as you look at those 3 strategies on being a good steward of institutional resources and the way that delivering digital strategies has allowed you and the team to do that?
It's allowed us to incorporate the 3-legged stool of fundraising, the major gift, the annual gift, the deferred gift. And, we didn't go into it with that plan. We didn't really have a plan going into it. I think Capture kind of just helped us kind of see our way through there. You made suggestions. We made decisions. And it really, turned out to be a great first year. And I think what we'll look forward to in the second year is we'll see more ways that we can use this. We want to get the tracker on more sites here at the university. That will be a big milestone for us. But we'll definitely be able to go back and look at a return on investment, not only for deferred gifts. And let's face it, when you get a reply card, it could take years before you close that deferred gift. Here we can pretty much prove that these tools are helping drive annual giving and also major gifts that are happening maybe faster than some of the deferred gifts.
Paul, I love it. And you mentioned a great first year and a year 2. So we'll just tell the audience to stay tuned to see what this webinar update looks like next year. If we can convince you to to come back next year and share what your updated strategies are. So,
great.
Paul, any closing comments before I say a big thank you to you and a big thank you to our audience?
I have nothing more to add, only that, again, if anybody has any questions offline, feel free to reach out, shoot me an email, or give me a call, look me up on the web, and I'll be happy to chat with you about anything gift planning, anything capture. Let me know.
Well, Paul, we can't thank you enough for your time. We know how valuable your time is. We know the work that you're doing on campus and the results that you're seeing. So thank you so much for joining us. I will reiterate Paul's comments. He has been a tremendously receptive person for my outreach. He has been a tremendous visionary in our industry. If you have questions after this webinar about any of the resources that Paul is putting up on the website, Capture included, I know that he would love to field some of those questions, or I should say Capture excluded. Paul's putting up a lot of resources on that website. So please reach out to Paul if you have any questions. So Paul, with that, I want to say a big thank you from all of us here at Capture for making the time to share your journey on delivering digital. And thank you to all of our audience members for tuning in. We are at about a 50-minute mark. So Paul, we made it in under the hour and thrilled to have everyone with us today. So with that, thank you from all of us here at Capture. Thank you, Paul. And we look forward to seeing you at future webinars.